So yesterday, I came on here back for the first time in a long time, and one of the things I talked about yesterday was a different AFC East team in the New York Jets, and how if I'm the Jets, I feel pretty decent about how Zach Wilson played yesterday. I like how the defense stepped up and made Patrick Mahomes very uncomfortable, and I think it was probably the best loss that the Jets have had in a very long time. Zach Wilson was taking accountability while still on the sidelines. His teammates came over and was comforting him. And it looks like the Jets could turn a page and maybe find a way to scrap away a positive season, whatever that means to you. They are going in a direction that I feel comfortable with, even though they lost. The New England Patriots, before the season started, on a different YouTube channel, I said the New England Patriots would have a top 5 pick in the draft. I said that they'd be one of the worst teams in the NFL, and I said that they would struggle to get 5 wins. Then they played the Eagles, and they came away with a loss, kind of similar to the Jets yesterday. We're like, okay, I feel kind of good about that loss. Then they lost to the Dolphins, and it's like, okay, they held the NFC champs to under the spread, and then the exact same thing with the Dolphins the next week. I'm not sure if it was a spread for that one too, but had opportunity in the Dolphins game to come down and score, to tie or win the game. Had the exact same scenario against the Eagles. You leave those two games feeling good, and then last week against those same New York Jets, who looked terrible, you won, but I felt worse for the Patriots after that win than I did the previous 2 losses. And then yesterday happened. And then the worst loss in the Bill Belichick era happened for the Patriots, and it's not getting better. It's not a game-by-game thing that can be fixed. It is a systematic issue with the New England Patriots and their understanding of how the current NFL is run. Through 4 games, they are second in the league in points per game, 13.8. They cannot score the ball. They cannot move the ball. Mac Jones is turning the ball over at an extraordinary rate. The turnovers are getting worse. They're looking worse. His understanding of the offense is worse than it was last year with a defensive coordinator running the offense. It's not all to blame on Mac Jones, and Mac Jones is certainly at fault. I was never high on Mac Jones. I think he's a poor man's Tua, and Tua has his own limitations. So for Mac Jones to go out there with not really a strong running game, with no good wide receivers to throw it to, no really good tight ends to throw it to, the offensive line hasn't been that good either. Just a offense that, as a whole, is not good, and he is the centerpiece of that, and he himself is not good. Bill Belichick is stuck in his old, drawn-out ways that at one point was working, was successful. On offense, you don't pay your skill position players. You get guys that are going to come in and do a job. Anybody who wants more money, they can hit the road or bring in somebody else. The only thing is this year, they did that with Jacoby Myers. They let Jacoby Myers walk and then proceeded to sign Juju Smith-Schuster to virtually the same exact contract. A notably worse wide receiver. You let somebody who's in-house, who has success with Mac Jones, walk for a guy who struggled with Patrick Mahomes. The defense. They've let the pieces walk over the years. The J.C. Jacksons, the Kyle Van Noys, the guys that were like some at one point unsung heroes, and they let the draft play out and try to find some guys, cheaper guys like Jalen Mills to come in and replace some of those guys, and eventually that stops working too. I like Christian Gonzalez. I think he's going to be a stud of a player. Now you have Matt Judon, who might be out for the season with a torn pec. Is it torn pec or torn tricep? I don't remember off the top of my head. But the defense is going to be worse now. And the defense isn't even good to begin with. They're currently 21st in total team defense. So the defense is something that you've been riding for years. And now that is bottom half. It's 21st in the league. It's behind teams like the Minnesota Vikings, who do anybody feel great about them? They could easily be 0-4 if Bryce Young was just given a half second longer to throw the ball and a grade letter higher of value at wide receiver position. If that was the case, the Vikings could easily be 0-4. And no one confuses the Vikings defense for a talented defense. And that is where the current state of the Patriots is. The Patriots could very well be, by the end of the season, the worst team in football. The Chicago Bears, even though they lost yesterday, they have a way that they can win, keep Justin Fields upright, which is a much harder task than just saying it out loud. If he can accurately deliver the ball to DJ Moore If Khalil Herbert has another strong game, the Bears had about a perfect game yesterday and still lost to another team who is amongst the worst teams in football. So it is not a uplift of the Chicago Bears at this point. It is, I genuinely think if the two teams play today, the Chicago Bears would win. We will get to see the Broncos, who also easily could be 0-4. We get to see them play later this year in Denver, and I think I'm taking the Broncos. They have just as good of a head coach. If anything, I kind of favor Sean Payton at this point. The offense in Denver seems to start to get some things figured out. They were without Javonte Williams for the majority of the game yesterday and still found a way to win. Russell Wilson, he's not as bad as people are making him out to be. And I think a lot of that is to do to Sean Payton coming in and fixing some things up. There is no fixing Mac Jones with his current Patriots offense. You aren't going to find Tyreek Hill to give him. You aren't going to find a star wide receiver. You aren't apparently going to fix up the ground game. They said Ezekiel Elliott was going to get the starter work yesterday, and Ramondre Stevenson led the team in rushing with 30 yards. What is there? What is there on this Patriots offense that is bears any sort of fruit, has any sort of success, and that is going to be applicable for the rest of the season to win the Patriots another football game? Bill Belichick is still a tremendous coach. Bill O'Brien, I do believe, can be a good offensive coordinator, potentially even head coach again in this league one day. But nothing is gelling together. Mac Jones has done nothing but regress since his rookie season. A lot of that is to blame on the Patriots, but there's also a lot of blame with him. You have two sides equally at fault, and both are going for a race to the bottom. Mac Jones gets no leeway because we have seen he's a dirty player. We've seen he's willing to cross the line of what's acceptable on a football field. And then on top of that, his role is to be a distributor, to be a point guard, to get the ball into the hands of your skill position players and not turn the ball over. Do it with efficiency. And again, another 2 turnover performance, pick 6, fumble, easily could have had multiple other interceptions, did not. And then Zappy goes in there, and he's not any better. This is not a they should bench Mac Jones video because I don't think Zappy's much better. They had Malik Cunningham. At the moment recording this, I'm not sure if he's still on the roster. Maybe if he is on the roster, give him a shot. If he's not, why isn't he on the roster? Because this offense needs juice. It needs a spark. It needs somebody to go out there and make plays. There's 0 playmakers on this team. You signed Devontae Parker to an extension. Devontae Parker at one point might even still be last in the NFL when it comes to separation from the wide receiver position. Mike Gesicki, at one point, through 5 years of his career, had not broken a single tackle as a tight end. He has no lower body. And then you have Juju Smith-Schuster, again, who you choose to bring in instead of keeping Jacoby Myers. There is nobody on that offense that I feel good about. There's guys in preseason like Demario Davis who we try to uplift and make it sound like he could be the guy, but that was more from the standpoint of the Patriots just don't have anybody else, so theoretically, somebody's going to step up. Tyquan Thornton, kid's got talent, but you look at other wide receivers that have been drafted in the same realm where he was drafted, and just tremendous difference in terms of skill and product that's out there in the field. It seems like we could find a way to give an excuse to Mac Jones. We could give an excuse to the receivers, to the running games, the offense coordinator. But it's all a big cycle of just not good enough. Mac Jones makes it harder on the offensive coordinator. The offensive coordinator makes it harder on Mac Jones. Mac Jones makes it hard on the receivers. The receivers make it difficult on Mac Jones. The running game, it's all interconnected. And at the center is Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick is the greatest football coach of all time. I will not in any way dispute that. But it's time. What at one point caused you tremendous success is now the detriment of the team. You cannot rely on a defense, especially when the defense is 21st in the NFL. It's a defense that is behind teams that have only played 3 games so far. It's not good enough. They're not getting the job done. And I don't really see any sort of safety valve for them. You're not going to find anybody midseason that is really going to make a difference. There's no chance this team makes the playoffs. Even last year, again, with a defensive coordinator, they sniffed the playoffs. They were all they had to do was beat the Bills, which is, taller task. The Dolphins saw that yesterday. All they had to do was win, and they were in with a defensive coordinator, with 2 defensive coordinators. Joe Judge's special teams. So a defensive coordinator and a special teams coordinator working the offense. Nearly made the playoffs last year. Now you have a legitimate offensive coach in Bill O'Brien, and so you're still not getting the job done. Mac Jones is looking worse. Everybody is looking worse on offense. Everybody is looking worse on defense. And Bill Belichick can just sit there and rub his face and roll his eyes and have his little attitude. It's not going to change. The Patriots, as they're currently run, are running themselves into the ground. I feel very confident that they're going to finish with a top 5 pick.